This is a VOD review for Nexia or Lucradrase, whichever one. The account's Lucradrase. Then the one is the account that requested the VOD review. We are going to be going over Syndra mid for this review. We're just going to basically just get right into the game. We'll kind of go over a little bit of everything in this game. A lot of it's going to be a little more basic, but we're going to kind of try to cover our bases here and hopefully help you out a little bit. So I checked your runes and your masteries here. Just runes. Your runes, I am halfway a fan of. I like Comet. I like the sorcery tree. It makes a lot of sense to me. You're running the right stuff. I would like to see you swap your secondary tree from domination. It doesn't really offer you a lot, right? Taste of Blood doesn't end up sustaining you a whole lot in lane, especially because you're not trading. If you do prioritize trading, then it is a little better, but Inspiration Tree just offers a lot more utility with both the stopwatch and the Cosmic Insight, which gives you the 5% flat CDR and then 5% over the top CDR, so you can go all the way up to 45% CDR. I think you definitely give that a try out. And then if you do want to stick with domination, you definitely probably need to swap over to Eyeball Collector, or there's not really a lot else you can swap to. And then Taste of Blood isn't really that crazy good for you, so Cheap Shot might be your best chance. But again, it doesn't really, there's just not a lot of synergy with your kit in the domination tree. So if we just look at the lane, you know, your starting items are always going to be the same. Your lane matchup is Vel'Koz. And so he really prioritizes pick, but he's really low mobility. So your goal in this lane should be poking him a little bit with your Q and potentially your W. And then eventually getting him low enough to just hit, you know, throw down a Q, throw your E to stun him, and then hopefully just all in and kill him, especially because you're running Ignite. When you run Ignite, you really have to prioritize getting kills in the lane. And then if you look at the junglers, it's Vi for your jungle and Jax for the enemy jungle. Jax is pretty mobile. He does have really good gank opportunities. He does bring CC to the game, so it is a bit rough of a matchup for you, so you do have to be a little careful. And then if you look at your jungler, it's Vi, not the best jungler right now in terms of matchups and 1v1 and gank pressure pre-6. Post-6, it's super easy to force with her, so you just have to keep aware of what she is doing. So the first part of what we really need to do as a mid laner is really pay attention to where the jungler starts, because that's going to tell you whether you have to worry about pressure from the bottom side of your map or from the top side of your map. And a lot of that is just going to be, I'll switch it to your vision here just for a minute. So excluding your bot lane invading here, the way you tell where a jungler starts is going to be right about here at the 140-ish mark. So you pay attention to both bot lane and top lane to see who comes late to the lane. And because bot lane immediately shows up, you know top lane's late, and so you know top lane leashed on top side of the map. And so whichever side the jungler starts on, you need to ward the other side of the jungle, the other side of the map on river by about 240. That's about the latest you want to do it, because that's when, right, your level 3 ganks, what has always been known for eternity is your 3-minute ganks. That's when your level 3 ganks come. So because you know Jax started topside, at about 2 minutes and 40 seconds, you want to have a ward down. It depends on how much control you have over the lane. If you decide to attempt to shove the lane, and then you have pressure, you can come and ward in this intersection over here between the Raptor camp, the red, and river. Cuts off a lot of angles. You can go a little safer and drop it right here, just in case he tries to like blast crystal over the wall for your level 3. Or if you don't really have a ton of pressure, but you're still kind of right where you're positioned now, then just warding river right here would be your best option. And again, if the enemy jungler started bot side of the map, you can always ward on the other side of the map, right? You can ward on this side of the map. You can ward eye brush, banana brush. River here, you can ward a little more defensively up in this avenue. Again, right here, this will almost always catch someone coming from basically any route topside. And so that's really what you want to watch for junglers. Other than that, you're looking to just catch CS, and you honestly don't want to look for too much poke level 1 outside of whenever your Arcane Comet is up. So whenever your Arcane Comet's up, every time you hit a spell, it's a little extra effective because you get the rune. You get the comet that comes down and does a little extra damage. So you really want to look for this kind of poke right here. So you notice you guys are just kind of trading evenly. Your main goal here is to hopefully out-trade him, right? Hit an extra skill shot, or hit 2 extra skill shots, or avoid a little extra minion aggro. Your goal is to basically out-sustain or out-damage him, and then knock him out of lane. So pretty straightforward in lane here. You hit level 2. I don't want to see you burn a ton of mana here. So you pick up your stun level 2, boom. This is exactly what you want. You throw the Q, you trade in, you chunk them out pretty hard, and then you back off. You need to try to avoid taking like the little extra auto attacks. Not a huge deal. And so here, with him missing almost half his HP, it might be a good idea. You're about to hit level 3 to look for just like a level 3 all-in, because you do have the damage for it. So again, he's chugging potions, so you do have to be attentive to that. And again, as we were talking about, it's 250 now, so hopefully, you know, back here. Right here at 240 is basically where you always want to have a ward down if you're ever positioned forward in the lane. So the one caveat of that ward situation is if it is later in the game, right, if it's 240 and you're shoved in, right, you're not really too worried about a gank from this exact position. You don't have to try to force the ward out. You just want to get the ward out at this point, basically, for a safe side of the lane. So when you don't know where the enemy jungler is, post 3 minutes, you want to ward one side of the lane and then hug that side of the lane. The idea is that if you ward River Brush here, or again, any of these deeper wards, it's giving you information so you know the enemy jungle either is or isn't there. And so whenever you don't see him on the ward, you know he's not there, you know you can safely hover, you know, bot side of the lane, or if you ward top side, you know you can safely hover top side lane, or moderately safely hover that side of the lane. And so that's your ideal ward usage here whenever you do finally get pressure in the lane. So again, we take a little bit of poke, kind of unfortunate. Vel'Koz is really lined up for you to hit a stun. I'm not really exactly sure why you're not looking for it. Again, we always kind of want to look to try to pressure our lane opponent, especially low mobility ones. Champions like Katarina, like Zed, any of these super mobile mid laners that can punish you very heavily after you blow your stun, them you have to play the lane a little differently. You can try to poke them with QW, but if there's someone that you have to keep them off of you, Talon as well, you really have to keep your E up then. But because it's a low mobility mid laner, you can basically look to throw your E whenever you have an orb down at a correct angle to hit the stun, to hit a bunch of poke. And that's really what we want to see here. We don't want to see this kind of super passive play, because especially because you're playing Cinder. You're a very aggressive mid laner who should be picking up just kills like candy. And then right here, I'm just kind of unfortunate. So you kind of look, you throw your W here, and you way overshoot, and then you hard jerk and throw your Q really far away. So I'll play this even slower. So right, the idea here, right when you're starting to look for a skill shot, you don't want to overshoot too far this way, generally you just do initially we want to start our skill throw right here, but we know they're going to move. If we know they're going to move, then we want to predict just a little bit, right? You don't want to do a whole lot of movement, right? Because if you try to predict like way out here, unless they have a ton of move speed, generally you're going to miss, especially early game. And so you try to predict with your W, miss it, and then the second you see that you miss your Q here as well, there's no real reason to burn any more mana here. Because at this point, you're just taking a really poor trade. If you can't hit the stun, you need to basically not throw it unless you're really having to shove them away. You just burn a ton of your mana for a poor trade. And then here, you start burning a lot of mana just to farm. And so you'll notice you're kind of low on mana at the moment. And then you end up trading in even more here, mana-wise, just for farm. Our mana generally is to pick up cannon minions. If we have not a lot of lane pressure, then, you know, potentially just a farm. But again, we're playing Syndra. We're not really too far behind. This should be a kill lane. We really want to, again, prioritize when we look to throw our Q. We want to look to either throw it on Vel'Koz to poke him, or throw it, you know, if you need to throw it on a minion, try to position yourself in such a way that you can hit the stun on your lane opponent. You really want to look for this pressure. And now you do have to be careful because now that you're low, super low mana, you actually can't look to all-in Vel'Koz just because you don't have the mana to throw all your skills. So the lane kind of goes like this for a while, you know, not really too interested in watching this. You literally basically just farm, you know, you look for poke, you get them low, and then you basically just don't go aggressive again. So you see Vel'Koz back, so you hard shove the wave, and then you back. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite super hard shove, but not a huge deal. You back, you buy. You pick up Lost Chapter, Amp Tome. So basically, it's just like mana regen. See, like right here, this is the ideal trade that you always want to be looking for, right? So we throw our Q. Kind of in the minion wave. You know, this is also for a little bit of farm. Then we shotgun it out. We hit the stun. We grab the orb. We throw it at him. We auto him. And then we just back off. Boom. We've taken a really good trade. And now, once your cooldowns are back up, you can basically just look for an all-in here. This is basically exactly what you want. And then if you don't get him low enough to all-in and just kill him, then you want to do the exact same skill cycle. So again, I just want to reiterate warding here. You do finally go and ward, but this is actually the first ward you've dropped all game. You really have to prioritize getting at least some of the wards down at some point. Really important, and it's just really unfortunate to sit on 2 trinket wards the entire time. So this is the only poke I don't really like, right? Because now that you're a little later in the game, now that you're level 7, your Q is level 4, so your Q is actually quite a bit of your damage. And so a lot of times when you're looking for poke, you really do have to look to land the Q as well when you look for it. Not a lot to really go over here. Again, you're kind of looking to trade. You back off a little bit when you see Jax on top side of river, which is good. Again, we're kind of fishing for the trades here. I think you know full well that you can all in him and just kind of kill him. Very simple. I think this is a bit of a panic flash, though. Kind of unfortunate. I'm not sure if it's just like, yeah, because you throw your ult, you know you're gonna kill him. You know the ult's not really gonna kill you because it takes a long time to cycle through. He has to get a full channel in order to kill you. Just have to be a little careful about panicking and just burning summoners, especially because your flash is really important to Syndra. So here is where it really kind of bites you in the ass. So, right, you're playing at halfway in the lane. Again, we're sitting on trinket wards. You're sitting on 2 trinket wards and a pink. Whenever you buy pinks, you really want to use them either on river brushes to, again, you want to control one side of your lane, or in eye brushes to get a little extra vision, depending on how much control you have. If you have less control, then you drop them in a river here, or banana brush, or behind red. If you have more control, you can drop them in eye brush, or the slightly more aggressive brush a little further in. So again, I really like that trade. It's exactly what we're looking for. You do get a little low. And because you have no wards, because you don't have a deep ward here, and because we're not paying attention to top side of the map, right? So I'll go back here and show you your vision. So again, it's something you kind of have to watch quite a bit. It's just kind of that map awareness thing. I generally recommend to increase your map awareness is to have some sort of metronome app, if at all possible, to ding just every 2 or 3 seconds. That way you get used to really looking at the minimap every time you hear it, and then eventually you can kind of just taper off of it. I know it's a little annoying for some people, but it really does work. So if you're paying attention to the map, you see bot lane's bot, top lane's missing, and he actually does an assist ping up here, which I think he means for, oh no, that was their team. Your top laner doesn't do any pings. No, I thought someone did, but your top laner actually does no pings. And right, again, because we have 0 wards, we have 0 vision. So until someone basically walks in on you, you're not really gonna get much. And again, this singular ward here, you're not actually even hovering your slightly controlled side of your lane. And so Darius just walks up here, which is really unfortunate. And you do have your stun here, which I'm kind of bummed about not seeing. It might have been a replay. Okay, it was a replay. You don't have your stun here. Okay. I don't think you're going to get it there. Really unfortunate. You actually do almost get him. Really good use of the Ignite to try to pick up a kill. So at this point, you're not really like crazy far behind, right? You're just down to death. You've died once. Vel'Koz has died twice. You've got your finished Merlinomicon. You've still got your mid tower. So again, we're pushing out a map. Again, we're sitting on a pink and a trinket ward. And again, instead of going and warding anything for any sort of safety beforehand, we're just kind of pushing down into mid lane. And again, because we never go and drop a ward, we just get collapsed on and we die. So I cannot stress enough with mid lane how very important it is to use your wards when you have them. Sorry, gotta get my notepad back up. So you do finally eventually place your pink ward down in here. Super defensive ward. I like to see it slightly more aggressive. I understand you don't have your mid tower, so you do have to play a little safer, but it's not the end of the world. So what I would like to see is you grouping with your team after you shove instead of just backing off and farming raptors, right? Because again, if we go look at like what lanes are doing, bot lane tries to pressure here. Top lane did manage to achieve pressure. And so you end up going and farming. If you had just walked bot to like help them with this fight here. Kog'Maw kind of oversteps here and just suicides. But had you been here at the beginning of the fight, had you just walked down, the fight would have been a very different fight. And then while they're doing that, Tryndamere actually ends up taking the tier 2 up here too. And then, again, their mid laners rotating to these fights, you end up just backing and farming. So once lane phase is over, generally it can end as early as 10 or 12 minutes. Sometimes it is later. When lane phase is over, you generally want to look to group with your team in. Mid lane is a little weird in that your lane phase typically ends when one of the two mid towers dies. And it's also you do the same thing that you would when you would attempt to rotate a lead from mid lane to other lanes. You basically, no matter whose tower is down, you get to the wave, you shove the wave, and then you attempt to rotate. So you've got the wave, you've shoved the wave, we don't have anything to rotate to, right? If we look on the map, nothing really to rotate to. So we wait, we're going to grab this next wave, hopefully. Instead, you kind of rotate away. The idea is just shove this as fast as humanly possible, and then either rotate to your bot lane, which has a little bit of pressure, or unfortunately in this situation, you are kind of just stuck waiting because you don't have a ton of pressure anywhere at the moment. But right here, right, you see your entire team grouping bot side, and so, again, shove mid, rotate to the team. So instead of rotating to the team, you kind of just shove mid, and Vel'Koz is already stuck here to catch this entire wave. You can easily be almost to bot side of the map right now. So you end up not really contributing very much to the team, and then you actually end up solo dying here. So you hit a Q. And something really, really important here. Unless you're very, very close to dead, you never want to do this ult. So I will play this again at like quarter speed once we get a little closer. So we've missed our stun, we missed our W, so we're already in a pretty bad spot as Syndra. We get hit by the Q, we eat some poke, he misses that. So here, because we are not actually dead yet, Vel'Koz hasn't done any sort of full commit, right? This goes for any sort of person you're fighting right now. Your panic ult is only to kill, is only attempt to scare them off. Because you know that the more Q stacks you have out, or the more balls you have out, the more Qs you have out, the higher the damage your ult does. So you have to be really careful because your minimum damage here is actually pretty low, and then you actually get 100, what do you get, 100? 130, 160, 171 damage per Q. Ow. And so it's really important to just try to be patient with it, and then worst comes to worst, you just end up not burning it. Because you kind of knee-jerk ult here and only get 5 orbs, where you could have gotten 6 pretty easily. And then because you don't have any damage for the follow-up here, you actually don't end up killing him, but I won't pause this time, because I want to, again, kind of show you something, because you kind of panic. So again, we'll play this at half speed. I want you to pay attention to your cooldowns. So this is no pausing, so this is your actual cooldown. Your E is actually up here. So it's really important. After you ult, a really good tactic, especially in team fights, with Syndra, is to use your Scatter the Weak, your E, after you ult, because, right, you can just shotgun orbs out. Right? Because as soon as he goes stationary here, you've got, right, you have literally a straight line here from an orb to Vel'Koz. And so you can very easily E him, stop this ult, and actually kill him instead. Instead, you just kind of try to run away and then just die. So, a good thing to note as well is if you ever think you're, almost, like, guaranteed going to die, it is always a good idea to attempt to trade. Honestly, just to learn more than anything, because if it doesn't work, you can kind of learn your limits here a little bit. If it does work, then you still learn your limits. You just learn your limits the other way. So, a lot of this game kind of turns into a back and forth. You guys do finally end up grouping. You end up continuing to kind of miss a lot of W's and E's all game, which is kind of just a practice and mechanics thing. It's something you just have to work on. So again, you're farming top lane, and your team is grouped. Again, super important to just get it shoving and then rotate to your team instead of just this kind of mindless farm that you've got going on. And then because of the type of champion you're playing, you never want to be quite as far back as you are now. Because, right, as Syndra, the idea is you hit a Q, hit your E, throw your ult. Also throw your W somewhere in there and potentially, stack a couple Qs behind right now, right? Because it's looking like they're wanting a siege. Start throwing a Q or two behind you to start getting a couple extra orbs down. That way you're not in this position where you hit a stun. And again, I don't like you being this far back either, right? So if we just pay attention to how this kind of plays out. So we hit a stun. And right, you've got 3 people well and truly in front of you. And so there's no reason to back up much further past your front line, right? And these are your front line. This isn't just like random carries out in front of you. This is more or less your front line. And you are so far back that you actually can't even throw skills at Darius, let alone attempting to throw any at, any of this other backline, at Jinx, at Vel'Koz, at Veigar. And again, we've seen them use mobility here. We've seen Jax use his leap. I would really like to see you cycling skills here in the back line, because you're just so far back here, you're not you're just not doing anything in the team fight. And then when you are in team fights, when you are this low, right? So when you are this low, you basically have to back and heal. Right? Because literally anything will kill you. Veigar Q catches you. Vel'Koz Q catches you. Jinx Rocket. Jinx E. Jinx Auto. Like, literally anything kills you here. And so, you achieve nothing by staying. And so that's just the one, like, bit, the one other big thing that I really noticed here. Is him. And you guys actually end up rallying here. They go for Baron. Your Vi steals Baron. It's all fine and dandy. I do have a very big problem with your build right now. And so, the idea is, if we look at Syndra build, right? I'll pull that up real quick for you. So, if we look at, like, recommended builds on here, so it looks like it's Morello's, Leandri's, sometimes Zhonya's, sometimes Luden's, sometimes Deathcap. And then on one occasion, Void Staff. So it's really important to note here that Void Staff literally never gets built second. And the reason is because AP is going to be better for you than the percent magic pen, right? Because it's 40% magic pen, but it's percent based, and they all have very little MR, right? We can go look at them right now. Darius has 47 MR. Vhagar has 34 MR. Jax, because of his ult, has 71, which is a little more, but again, pretty low. And Jinx, 34. So if you had a Liandry's instead of a Void Staff right now, you would actually have you'd have 18 magic pen here, and I believe Liandry's now has, we go look just to make sure before it has 15 magic pen. And so you'd actually have one MR, you'd be one magic pen away from doing true damage to Jinx. And so it's really, really important not to build Void Staff when you don't need it. And so you just look at the team, you know, what do you need? Do you need pure boost, right? Do you need a pure burst? Ludens. Do you need, I almost like Liandry's either way. I'd almost recommend Liandry's no matter what, because it is a good tank killer. It gives you flat pen, which helps you against squishies. And it gives you a little bit of health, which helps you be just a bit tankier. And again, I don't like you actually being like super scared of just, you know, all-ending Jax here. So again, you kind of just get picked here, your team fights. You come back. Again, you're just positioned so very far back, you're just not able to assist anyone. Also, this late in the game, you should really be prioritizing attempting to get Q stacks. And attempt to use your QW for wave clear, not QE. Your stun is a lot more important than your W, than your slow. So here, you are finally positioning a little further forward. Unfortunately, your team just gets chunked. What do you get chunked by? And just a little bit of AoE from Vel'Koz ends up chunking you. And I don't like seeing that you're leaving fights. Really important. I'm sorry. I don't like you leaving fights just like without cycling skills constantly, especially your ult here. So right here, if someone's gonna jump on you like this, right, very linear. Throw a Q right on you, and then just throw your stun, and this will knock him direct out of the air or knock him away, so you don't die here. So there's really not a whole lot more that happens in this game. A lot of what happens is you all group, you all fight. Game kind of just doesn't get ended. I mean, enemy prioritizes kills so much that you guys actually are able to not lose the game. You pick him. Again, this is more what I want to see here from you. So we hit a stun here. So Jax has no mana. Right, Jax is just enough to leap strike on. He doesn't even have enough to leap strike on you yet. So this guy really isn't a threat. So I want to see you really get up in his face. And you stack orbs up, and because you stacked orbs up, your ult just hits him like a freight train. And so you guys do the miraculous hold, and then it's kind of just game as per usual for what's been going on the rest of the game. They try to TP. Take your item. I mean, this game's really, really just crazy. So this is the kind of aggression that I really want to see from you. It's just really unfortunate that the Vhagar stun hits you. He just laser beams you. Yep. Ends up dying of, yeah. You guys basically straight up win the game from this. So I just want to really, really, really reiterate here It isn't quite exactly what we want to see, right? We want to see boom, 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 and then hopefully a kill. But right, you grabbed an orb, you threw it, you stunned him, you were looking to just all in it because you knew you could kill him. That's exactly what you need to look for all game. You had some Qs stacked up, so it wasn't like it was going to be a super weak ult if it got off. And that's what we really, really, really want to see basically all game, really. And I believe you actually played this last fight moderately well. Alright, we want to fish for a little poke. I'd like to see you fish like slightly more aggressively than standing super far behind. Again, we kind of want to try to be like behind our carries and not so much so that we can't assist. And again, we walk up, boom, we just ult him, boom, we kill him. We killed Veigar. I'll play this in slow-mo for you again. So recycling skills, we miss our W, we got our E coming off cooldown. We just throw our ult at Jax because he got too close. We already have a couple Qs stacked up. Boom, not crazy. And again, we've got other things off cooldown. Just throw them. Like, there's no need to be this scared of Vel'Koz. Right? Because you just absolutely blow him up. You just absolutely demolish him even without your ult. So other than that, for basic mechanics, it's just a lot of practice and a lot of repetition and kind of understanding how her Q interacts with her E in order to get cleaner stuns. Playing lane much more aggressively, controlling your vision a lot better, which is basically just like placing vision. You don't even have to control. You just need to place vision down because you're always sitting on it. And then attempt to pay attention where the jungler is, where other laners are. Just have a little more map awareness. Try to get that level 3 ward down that we talked about. And then just kind of try to group with your team instead of farming so much and position just a little further forward. You don't have to position in front of your front line, but you also need to be a lot closer to your front line to throw skills whenever you are around. Hopefully that was helpful. I appreciate the opportunity, and if you could leave a rating on the websites after you are done watching this, I would greatly appreciate it.